Alright, let's talk about one of the most bizarre and jaw-dropping trials in Hollywood history, the Johnny Depp and Amber Heard case. Now, you've probably heard about it, right? I mean, how could you not with all the drama, the scandal, and yes, Poopgate. Sounds crazy, doesn't it? But let's take a step back and ask ourselves, why did Johnny Depp, of all people, decide to put himself through all of that? We all know the headlines, the wild stories, and the unforgettable moments, but what was really going on in his mind? Was it just about clearing his name, or was there something deeper at play here? Trust me, this is a story with more twists than you can imagine. Stick around as we dive into the inside story of why Johnny Depp went to war with his ex-wife Amber Heard, all while facing public humiliation and all kinds of bizarre accusations. Now, let's start by breaking this down, step by step. Imagine being accused of something so serious. Being called abusive, having your reputation dragged through the mud, and the world just believing what they hear on social media. What would you do? Would you just stay quiet, or would you take the fight to court? Well, Johnny Depp chose to fight, and in the most public way possible. Here's the thing, Depp didn't just want to clear his name. He wasn't simply defending himself against Amber Heard's accusations, he wanted to do something bigger. Something that would send a message, not just to her, but to the world. He wanted accountability. He knew that if he didn't fight back, the damage to his reputation would be irreversible. He had to take a stand, no matter how humiliating it might get. And trust me, it got pretty humiliating. One of the most talked about moments of this entire trial was Poopgate. Yep, you heard that right. Now, you might be thinking, what in the world is Poopgate? Well, buckle up, because this is one of the weirdest and most bizarre parts of the whole story. So, apparently, Amber Heard allegedly left human feces on Johnny Depp's bed as a prank. And just like that, the internet exploded. The headlines went wild. People were talking about it for weeks. It became one of the most infamous incidents of this entire saga. But here's the thing about Poopgate, it's easy to get caught up in the drama, right? To focus on the weird details, the scandals, and the mess. But that wasn't really the point. The point was that Depp, despite all the chaos, had to fight back. He wasn't going to let these bizarre accusations and public attacks define him. He wasn't just defending himself from the world's judgment, he was protecting his dignity, his career, and his future. And that, my friends, is why he took the fight to court. So why did Johnny Depp put himself through this? Why didn't he just walk away, like so many other celebrities might have done? It all comes down to one thing, the truth. Depp knew that if he didn't stand up for himself, the public would continue to believe the accusations that were being spread about him. The truth was his weapon, and he was going to make sure it was heard. But here's something interesting. As much as this trial was about clearing his name, it was also about something deeper, his legacy. Johnny Depp was once one of Hollywood's biggest stars. He was adored by fans, respected by peers, and loved for his unique roles and eccentric personality. But when these accusations came to light, everything changed. The public perception of him shifted. And when that happens, it's hard to get it back. You see, trials like this are more than just legal battles. They're about public perception. They're about the way people see you. And Depp knew that. So, he fought not just for himself but for the person he had worked so hard to become. He knew that if he didn't fight, he might lose everything. And not just his career, but his identity as well. So, he chose to stand up. He chose to fight back, even when the whole world was watching, even when things got messy. But here's where it gets even more complicated. What about the public side of all of this? We've all seen the courtrooms, the emotional moments, the accusations, and yes, the infamous moments that will forever be etched into history. And while Johnny Depp was fighting for his reputation, he was also battling something even bigger, his image in the eyes of the public. In the age of social media, things can go viral in an instant. A single tweet, a shocking story, or even a meme can shift people's perceptions faster than you can say, trial. And for Depp, his name and face were everywhere. Every news outlet, every blog, every social media post, it was all about him. People had already picked sides. The world was divided. So, was fighting back really worth it? Well, Johnny Depp thought so. He wanted to make sure that the world heard his side of the story. And yes, while things got really ugly and some of the details were incredibly humiliating, Depp believed it was necessary. He knew that if he didn't take this fight head-on, the public would never get the full picture. They would always remember the drama, the fights, and the weird stuff, but they wouldn't know the truth. And for Depp, that was unacceptable. Let's really dig into the trials themselves, because this wasn't just your typical legal case, it was a monumental battle where everything was on the line. Johnny Depp wasn't just fighting a few accusations, he was facing a full-on, all-out war. His career, his legacy, his reputation, all of these things were being dragged through the mud. And when you think about it, not just his reputation as an actor but also as a person. What made this case so incredibly unique was that it wasn't just about a personal dispute between him and Amber Heard. This trial was a public spectacle, an emotional roller coaster that millions of people followed, dissected, and formed opinions on. Imagine being in that position. Your name is plastered on every major news outlet. You're not just fighting to clear your name in court, you're fighting for it in the court of public opinion. The stakes couldn't have been higher. Every word that came out of his mouth was analyzed, dissected, and sometimes twisted into something completely different from what was intended. Every piece of evidence, whether it was something that could potentially clear his name or something that could sink him deeper, was being broadcast to the world. And yet, in the face of all of this, Johnny Depp chose to take this head-on. Now, let's talk about the toll this kind of constant scrutiny can have on a person. There's a reason why public figures, especially those involved in high-profile trials like this one, often speak about the mental and emotional weight that comes with being in the public eye. It's easy to say, oh, they're celebrities. They can handle it. But when you're the one going through it, it's a whole different story. Every day, Depp was under the microscope. It wasn't just the headlines that were unrelenting. It was the online chatter, the memes, the opinion pieces, and most of all, the divided sides of the public that painted him as either a victim or a villain. There were fans and supporters rallying behind him, hoping that justice would prevail, while there were others who believed he was guilty, hoping that the truth would come out and his career would be over. Can you imagine the mental strain of waking up every day knowing that your life, your career, and your personal relationships were under constant attack? Knowing that no matter what you said or did, some people would never believe you. Johnny Depp had to carry that weight every single day. It wasn't just about surviving the trial, it was about surviving the judgment and criticism from a public that often only sees one side of the story. And that side is usually the one that gets the most attention. This was more than just a battle with Amber Heard. It was a battle with the media, with society's perception of him, and with the internet that loves to tear people down. Every time he stepped into that courtroom, the world was watching, and every movement, every glance, every word was magnified. Even when Depp tried to remain calm and composed, his every reaction was studied for some kind of hidden meaning. If he cracked under pressure, the headlines would scream about it. If he smiled too much or showed too little emotion, people would find fault with that too. And let's not forget the emotional toll this had on his personal life. Public trials, especially ones that are as intense and personal as this one, don't just affect the people involved, they affect everyone around them. Depp's friends, family, and loved ones were all dragged into the conversation. Everyone had an opinion on the matter, and everyone was scrutinizing Depp's every move. Imagine being one of his friends, watching him go through that, knowing there was very little you could do to protect him from the storm. The emotional strain wasn't just from the trial itself, it was from the relentless 24/7 coverage that came with it. In today's world, where news spreads instantly, there's no escape. When Depp was going through the darkest moments of this trial, he didn't have the luxury of retreating from the public eye. Every moment, every argument, every emotional outburst, was captured by cameras, broadcast on live television, and shared millions of times across social media. There's no downtime when you're a part of a trial like this. There's no chance to take a breather or find a quiet corner to recharge. Instead, every single aspect of Depp's personal life was picked apart and put on display for public consumption. And here's something else to consider. As much as the public was split on whether Depp was guilty or innocent, the media's portrayal of the trial was incredibly polarizing. This wasn't a trial where everyone got a clear-cut answer. The media did what the media often does: they sensationalized the story, created drama, and focused on the most salacious details. And in doing so, they created a situation where it was harder for the average person to separate fact from fiction. Instead of focusing on just the facts, the media started to focus more on the spectacle, the scandal, the arguments, the personal moments that felt juicy and entertaining. But at the heart of it all, Depp was fighting for his name. This was a man who had built a career on being one of the most respected and beloved actors of his generation. He wasn't just some random celebrity caught up in a legal dispute. He was Johnny Depp, a household name, a star with decades of success behind him. And in a way, that made the stakes even higher. His entire career was on the line, and it wasn't just about winning the case, it was about proving to the world that he wasn't the man he was being painted as. One of the most difficult parts about being in Depp's position was the way this trial blurred the lines between what was truly personal and what had become public property. The media made it nearly impossible to tell where Depp's private life ended and where his public persona began. It wasn't just a legal matter anymore, it had become a battle for his very identity. And this isn't something unique to Johnny Depp. Many public figures face this struggle. But it's especially true when the public is watching with such intense scrutiny, waiting to either build you up or tear you down. Every day, Depp had to face not only the courtroom but also the judgment of millions of people. He couldn't escape it. And when your career, your reputation, and your very future are in question, it's impossible not to feel the weight of it all. For Depp, this wasn't just about fighting an ex-wife in a courtroom, it was about fighting for his life, his career, and his legacy. No matter how hard it got, no matter how much the media twisted his every move, he had to keep pushing forward because the alternative, the idea of being misunderstood and losing everything, was just too much to bear. And even though he had his supporters, people who believed in him, people who cheered him on, the public opinion was always shifting. People are quick to take sides, and when you're in the spotlight, it's hard to escape those harsh judgments. When you're as famous as Johnny Depp, the world often forgets that you're still a human being. You're still someone with feelings, with a past, and with a sense of dignity. But in a public trial like this, you're not just a person, you're a symbol, a representation of something much bigger. And for Johnny Depp, that meant having to stand in front of the world and defend not just his actions, but his entire being. In the end, this was a fight that went beyond legalities. It was a battle for Depp's identity, for his dignity, and for his place in the world. The toll it took on him was immeasurable. But through it all, Johnny Depp showed incredible resilience, proving that even in the most trying moments, you can still hold on to who you are. But here's a pro tip, and this is something we can all take away from Depp's situation: sometimes, when you're backed into a corner, you have to stand your ground. You have to fight for what you believe is right, even when it seems impossible. It's not easy, and it's not fun, but if you truly believe in your truth, you have to do whatever it takes to make sure it's heard. That's exactly what Johnny Depp did. And let's not forget, when you're in the public eye, things can get crazy. The internet loves drama, and they thrive on scandal. But Depp didn't let that define him. He took control of his own story. Sure, things got messy, but in the end, he made sure that people knew what was really going on. He didn't let Poopgate or any other scandal be the story. He made sure his story was told. So, what can we learn from all of this? First, it's a reminder that truth matters. It matters when it comes to your reputation, your legacy, and how you're seen by the world. Johnny Depp fought for the truth, even when it meant going through some of the most embarrassing moments of his life. He didn't let the chaos distract him from his mission, to clear his name, protect his legacy, and, most importantly, reclaim his dignity. Now, before we wrap this up, let's take a moment to think about it. If you were in Johnny Depp's shoes, would you have fought back in the same way? Or would you have walked away, hoping the truth would come out on its own? It's a tough call, right? But that's what makes this entire saga so fascinating. It's not just about the scandal, it's about the choices we make, especially when everything is on the line. If you found this video interesting, let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm curious, what would you have done in Johnny Depp's situation? Would you have gone through all that drama, or would you have taken a different route? Also, if you want to hear more crazy stories from Hollywood, don't forget to check out our next video. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Before you go, don't forget to like this video, comment your thoughts below, and subscribe to the channel for more of these jaw-dropping stories. We've got so much more coming your way. Stay tuned, and I'll catch you in the next one.